Spotlight with Shadow, a Canadian dad who's got his finger on the pulse of global entertainment and sports. Each episode features unfiltered conversations with everyday creatives, musicians, wrestlers, filmmakers, and more from every corner of the globe. No fluff, just raw, real stories. This is Spotlight with Shadow, presented by Off the Top Media.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Spotlight with Shadow. Tonight I am joined by another half of Canadian Deathmatch, which is an amazing opportunity to have. He is the weapons master. He is a co-founder of the organization. He is Dylan Graydon. How are you doing, my guy?
I'm good. How are you tonight?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful, man. I'm excited to dive into this conversation. I've talked with you a little bit, and I'm excited to see where this conversation goes. But first, I got to skip over the pleasantries because I don't do that here. But I got to ask, what was little Dylan like how we got here?
How we got here? Little Dylan was kind of like a loser kid. I got made fun of a lot as a kid. I had buck teeth, stuff like that. So wrestling became an output, and I kind of just latched onto it for years. Kind of fell out of it in like the early 2000s and 10s because, you know, wrestling sucked back then. But yeah, I got back into it, and it's really come a long way since I started getting involved again.
It's awesome. And now I spoke to your counterpart, Sean. Are you also a very traditionalist first before this?
Yeah, kind of. Like, I'm not like really in. Sean like deep dives into that kind of stuff. Like I just like wrestling. Like Sean likes like the 70s, 60s stuff. I like the early 2000s kind of stuff, like the Ruthless Aggression era and stuff like that. Early TNA. That's where my stuff comes from.
Fair enough. What in the world of deathmatch wrestling, what inspired you to be like, yeah, I want to create the weapons. I want to do this. I want to do that.
Well, when we started the company, like throughout the years of watching like death matches, I was always like, that's kind of cool. And we were trying to figure out what we were all going to do when we all got involved with the company. And I was kind of at a loss. Like Sean wanted to kind of focus on like the getting to know everyone and all that stuff. And I was like, well, what do I do? And then I was like, shit, why don't I make some weapons? So then I asked Sean if I can. And he said, let's see what you can do. And I made this bad boy.
That looks insane.
With toothpicks in it. I will tell you something. I have dealt with toothpicks and barbed wire. And I've stuck my hand with both of them. This hurts. Like, barbed wire, you're kind of like, okay, that hurts. But when these go into your skin, that is not a good time. When I was making this bat, I would have to like poke holes into the bat and then stick the toothpicks in. And at one point, I stuck because my wife has like a cricket. I don't know if you know what those are.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. So she has like a needling thing. So like I stuck the needle in. And I stuck the needle in, and then it like went in too far. My hand went like that against this, and I stuck everything into my hand, and that hurt like a motherfucker. Like that was a lot of pain, and I had holes in my hand. It was wild.
That's insane. You mentioned your significant other there. What does she think of all this with you doing this?
Well, when we first got together, like she didn't understand much about wrestling, like. Due to like, you know, growing up, everyone thinks like, oh, wrestling's fake. How do you like that shit? And all that. So I took her to a show. The company that we went to is no longer around. They had some stuff happen with them. But then we went to a death match and got pretty into it. And then I got involved into this. And I think she thinks I'm a lunatic because I keep coming up with these ideas. And she's like, yeah, that doesn't sound fun. She's like, you sound crazy. I'll show you one that I made. This is like a medieval weapon kind of thing, and this is barbed wire. And these are little baseballs with toothpicks in it. So the idea of it is that when they swing this, I'm still working on it. This isn't the end product. When they swing it, it's going to be like a medieval weapon kind of thing. And when I pitched this idea to her, she said, you sound crazy. And I said, I know. And I did it. So here we are.
Listen, myself, I agree with her. Now, if we ask my significant other, she'll be like, hell yeah, that looks dope. I mean, it looks dope.
Oh yeah,
Don't get me wrong.
it's crazy. Like I always like pitch these ideas to Sean, and Sean's like, "Well, think," and I was like, "I don't know," but like I had these ideas, and like my brain is like constantly thinking about weapons. Like if I'm walking around the dollar store and I'm like, "Shit, I could turn that into a weapon." I text Sean. I said, "What do you think?" And he goes, "I don't know. Sounds crazy, but let's do it." So yeah, here we are.
I mean,
Or
I've
just
had conversations.
trying.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there. But yeah,
Oh no,
no,
you're good.
that looks wonderful. I mean, we've had some conversations where I pitched an idea to you and Sean. I don't know where that came from. I was sitting here just looking at my kids' stuff, and I'm like, I'm gonna throw that at them because I don't know if you would have thought of that, right? Being Canadian, it makes a little sense.
I was trying to think of things to like do like that were Canadian wise. So I seen your message and I was like, that's a good idea. So I got a lot of things laying around that your message was. So we're gonna make that happen for sure.
So, wow, I skipped over that. I don't typically do. What part of Canada are you in?
I'm in Ontario. I'm in Southern Ontario. I'm in a little small town called Simcoe. I don't know if you ever heard of it, probably not.
I have, yeah,
But
I have.
me and Sean grew up in the same town. So I know you're gonna ask this question, so I will just jump ahead to it.
Go ahead.
Me and Sean met about 10 years ago. I was dating his cousin, um, and we never really talked because back then, again, like wrestling, you're kind of weird. So I didn't know he was a wrestling fan. So I met him at a few family things, and I didn't know he was a wrestling fan. We didn't talk. So now it's like we fast forward 10 years later, we meet. It's over 10 years, like 15 years or something. We meet again. And I'm like, I know you from somewhere. And sure enough, that's how it went. But yeah, we're just from a little small town in southern Ontario. The closest town to us is Brantford City. So
That's a sketchy place in itself.
it is. Yeah. You got Brantford and then you got Hamilton. So it doesn't get any better.
No, the smell just gets worse.
Oh yeah. My wife's from Hamilton. So I always get her going. I always tell her nothing good comes out of Hamilton just to get her wound up a bit.
I mean, my significant other is from the Oshawa area, so we all know that how that goes.
I always get my wife going. I say the best thing to come out of the Brantford is Pretty Ricky. She doesn't like it too much, but it's always fun.
Growing up a Canadian, before we went live here, you were messing around with a baseball glove. Your shirt is baseball associated. Are you into any other sport but baseball, or are you just a softball, baseball guy? Like,
When I was growing up, I didn't really play sports, so it was baseball was kind of what I attached to. My goddad liked it; he played it. My dad played it. Everyone in my family plays it, so it kind of just came natural to me. But I like sports. I just never played them. I was too busy. You know what I mean? Like my goal was always to be involved in wrestling. Not like I wanted to be a wrestler, but I got involved in the baseball. That's where I met my wife. Well, actually, no, but we kind of play together. So that's kind of
that's
where we
awesome.
met.
It's awesome, man. I mean,
Yeah.
growing up, I liked wrestling like you. I fell out after like the mid 2000s to about the early 2010s, and for me, it was Bray Wyatt that took me back into it. And then I've just been, watching my kids develop into fans themselves. And I've taken a big liking to the indie scene as of the last year and some. So I get it. Big
The
hockey
indie
guy.
scene is always like, the indie scene's always going to be like the good stuff to go to because like we used to be involved in a wrestling company, like the three of us for Canadian Deathmatch, me, Sean, and Maddie. We were involved in another company here in Norfolk called Norfolk Championship Wrestling. All three of us had a falling out with them. It's whatever. But we always try to do like the best indie wrestling. It's always like people would tell me like, "Oh, I'm not going to your show." Like that's not WWE, and it's like, no, it's not WWE. You're right, but it's cheap wrestling, and these guys aren't getting paid millions to do this. So like they're actually like putting their asses on the line. I'm not saying it like WWE and AEW wrestlers don't do that, but it's different on the indies, right? You're trying to prove something.
Right. They're still doing it for the right reasons, which, I mean, once you start making millions, you're not really doing it for the right reasons.
No, exactly. And that's what I try to tell people all the time. It's the same as like, I know people that like, because in Brantford, we have the Brantford Bulldogs, and people will say, oh, I'm not going to the OHL. Like, they're not NHL players. No, but they will be. Like, that's most of them go to the show. So it's like, don't you want to see them before you have to pay hundreds of dollars where you pay $20 to go see these guys play hockey? It's,
you know, I grew up a London Knights fan, so I mean, I've been spoiled with talent that came out of that franchise to go to the NHL.
oh, yeah. They got some drama going on right now.
They always do. Some guy just Sims just got suspended for calling somebody a Mennonite. So I mean,
yeah.
I
I'm not
digress
touching
with
it, but like,
no.
the area that he's in is kind of like, that's mostly what it is. You know what I mean? So like, first question, is the player Mennonite? Like, that's, I don't know. You know how it is. I don't want to get involved in that.
It's probably one of the weirdest insults I've ever heard, though. But we'll go with that.
Yeah.
So you're saying you're growing up, you're kind of bullied and stuff like that, and I'll just ask a question here. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Growing up being bullied the way you were and stuff like that, what is a message you would like to send to people like yourself that growing up being bullied that love wrestling and just want to do their passion?
The best thing I could say to people that are going to bully you about things that you love, fuck them. Because at the end of the day, it's your life. Like, we all die. Like, none of us make it out of this alive. So do what you want to do. Like, just if you want to go into wrestling, get involved in the wrestling. There's lots of schools around. Like, if you're in the Southern Ontario, like if you're in Hamilton, Brantford area, there's Off the Ropes in Kitchener. There's Crossbody in Cambridge. There's Hamilton Pro in Hamilton, Mississauga. Like, there's so many you could do if you're in this area. Just do it. Not even like wrestling involved. Like, if you have a dream and people are bullying you for it, fuck them. Just do it.
Appreciate that. You know, this is kind of where the basis of this for me started up. I'm not the best person, but you know, I'm sitting here doing my work and don't give a shit what anybody says. I'm here doing it, right? And I met awesome people like yourself and Sean and others along the way, having fun doing
it. Also, another thing I would tell people is don't close yourself off. Like, have conversations with people when you're in the public, because you don't know where that conversation is going to go. Like, you could, like, there's a story where Dana White said that he never went to weddings. He would never go to people's weddings. And then the one wedding he went to, he met up with the guy that he started UFC with. So it's, you never know what could happen in the next conversation you have. You could start a wrestling company with two of your friends that you just met a year ago. So you just never know.
It's funny you say it like that, because Off the Top Media started by two people, myself and Scals, who didn't get along for the better part of a decade. And now we're the best of friends and close, and now we run this thing called Off the Top Media. So
yeah, and it's going well for you guys, right?
It is. We're enjoying the ride, and like it's getting us, opening us doors and stuff like that, and it's just been fun. Now, what? March 1st at 2 p.m. now. We moved the date the time up now because of the big leagues, if you will, are rolling through Toronto that day.
Yeah.
But why the tournament to start? Why not just kind of introduce the scene slowly?
It's kind of like we wanted to start with a bang. I think if we started with a normal show, it's just another show. You know what I mean? Like, so when we thought about doing the tournament, we said, hey, let's add some stipulations in it. So I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about any, but like there might possibly be a bull rope match, and someone in this conversation might know someone that does bull riding where he can get a bull rope, legit bull rope. So I'm so mad I just said I don't care. But yeah. So
the person's me, guys. I know a bull rider.
But yeah, so it's just the idea of the tournament was, and tournaments are traditional. For our other wrestling company, we started a year-long tournament when we started the company. So it's just, you know, like, why not? And then having we had a lot of like talks about the finals, and we didn't know where to go, and we said, let's do a 4-way final. Like, that'd be sick. Because, like, usually you have, like, the 2-on-2 kind of stuff. And we're like, all right, let's have a 4-way. And that's where we're at. Like, it's obviously going to be a 4-way final. So,
I mean, I plan to be there. It's announced that I should be there. This is all circumstantial. We're going to go with weather and other subjects that you and Sean know about.
yep.
But I have to ask, like, putting your own time and energy into a company, believing in yourself. I like to say, you know, bet on myself. I literally have the off the top logo tattooed on myself because I believe in myself. Now, taking the step forward financially, you don't have to go into detail here, but I've asked Sean this in a sense too. What kind of commitment do you have to make in your own head to keep going forward here, considering you don't know where this is going to go?
Well, that's where you're at when you start an indie wrestling promotion. You could go broke after the first show. You know what I mean? And especially with what we're doing, because, like, yeah, it's a good crowd, but it's also going to draw stuff like that. But with all of us kind of going in together on it, it helps. We all have decent jobs. So that's where it's at. And then when you do this, you want to hope that the first show pays for the future shows. So we're hoping that March can pay for the future shows that happen next year. And that's where we're at. Like, maybe not, like, maybe we're always going to put money in, but, like, we also have the merch store, which was a great idea. I don't know. I thought Sean was crazy for doing it at first, but it's been a hit. Yeah, that's just what you hope for. You just hope that your shows can pay for each other along the way. Obviously, for the first show, we're going to have to put money out. That's a given. And then you just hope that the next shows pay for each other. Because I know there's 3 shows planned next year, 4 shows. So it's kind of hoping to get those paid for within doing the first show.
Now, you don't have to pull back the curtain here, but I do have an inquisitive question. I didn't ask Sean this, but I'm going to ask you this. Where were we sitting right now as of, what is this, November 12th, 2024? How are we sitting with ticket sales as it is right now?
I think we're sitting well. Sean handles a lot of that, so I don't really know. He keeps me in the loop, but, like, my brain is so scatterbrained from
Fair enough.
You know, years
focusing
of
on
doing,
weapons, right? Like, you gotta make sure.
Years of doing dumb stuff. You know, my brain's scatterbrained. So, but I think we're doing well. Sean has said that we're doing really good. I think moving to 2:00 now on that day is going to be great because of WWE coming into town. And of course, the one day that we run a wrestling show, they decide to run a 50,000 person stadium for the first time in 22 years. It's just convenient, but you know, what can you do? But yeah, we're doing well. I know the t-shirts are going well. I know there's a few deathmatch shirts out there, which is nice. Like, for the plan for us, I think Sean said it in the last show. It's not about making money. It's about us leaving a legacy. So that's where we're at. When we started with the old wrestling promotion, like, we're Norfolk boys, right? Like, we're like, when you're from Norfolk, you're kind of like, it's in your blood kind of thing. So we kind of just, our plan was to have a legacy with that company. So when we all left, like, Matty isn't from Norfolk, so it hit for him, but it didn't hit like it hit for us. So after our first show, we ran at Talbot Gardens in our town, which there was, like, old wrestling promotion that came through, like WWF used to come through. So, like, Andre the Giant wrestled there. So it's kind of like you have that history, and now we're part of that history. So that's what we want to do with Deathmatch. Like, if we don't make money, we don't make money. But if there's a legacy that kind of keeps Canadian Deathmatch going, that's what we want. We want more eyes on it. Like, you have your promotions around here that, like, Frantic and Death Proof and other companies that do that, and they're great. Like, Death Proof is legendary in Ontario. So, like, we just want to be part of that.
I mean, I've learned a little bit here, talking with you guys and learning and a little bit working with you guys. and also working with a promotion in North Bay called Northland Wrestling. I'm learning, not that neither of you guys have disclosed this to me, but just learning and watching and listening. There's no real big money in indie wrestling, so it is all driven by passion. Like nobody's becoming a millionaire off indie wrestling.
No, that's where the curtain back here. That's where this stuff went wrong with the old promotion. The guy thought we were going to become millionaires off our little area, and indie wrestling is like there's no money in it. There's nothing. Like GCW, like I don't know how Brett does it. I don't know, but it's like he does well. He's got years behind him, so. But yeah, there's nothing in it. Like we're not going to become millionaires off the first show. We might not even become 100-aires off the first show, but we're doing it for the love of the game.
You just love it, right? Like, and that's and that's what matters, right? I've met a few great indie wrestlers, and you know, the answer is always kind of the same. I do it for the passion. If I get somewhere, cool. If I don't, I'm still experiencing something I can say I experienced.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
We had talked. We with both our fathers, and you're a strong advocate towards something of you. I'll let you bring it up. You have a couple children, I believe.
I only have one. One kid. Yeah.
And, by all means.
Colton. He's highly on the spectrum. He's highly autistic. So when he first found out he was autistic, like obviously when you first hear that, you're like, what does that mean? You're like, oh my God, like what do I do? Like where does life go? Like now you found out that your kid is special, but like growing up, when I heard special, it was like, oh my God, that's a bad thing. But having him, I learned it's the greatest fucking thing I could have ever went through. Like my son was nonverbal for many years. He's still kind of nonverbal, but he's starting to talk more. But I've learned the best thing about being a father with a kid with autism is that you get to learn where their head is. You know what I mean? Like in their head, they're crazy. Like not like crazy in like a bad sense, but like they're geniuses. Like they're the things my son does. I'll give you an example. He's playing Mario Kart, and I don't know if you're familiar. Obviously,
I'm a gamer.
Mario Kart. And he turns around to me and my wife, and he says, "Daddy, 2 minutes." What? He said 2 minutes. He played that game without looking at it, and it ended in 2 minutes. And that blew my mind. Like to this day, that happened 6 months ago, maybe. And my mind is still like, how the fuck did that happen? Like the kid he can pick up an iPad. Like, I get like a new electronic. I'm like, how the fuck does this work? This kid just fucking like just flies through it, knows everything. It's just crazy. And now that he's talking, he's talking more and he's saying things, it's like, wow, man. Like I went to the ringer with this kid. Not to to get too deep into it. I kind of did it alone for a few years. I had help from my mom, but like his mom was young, so she kind of went through the young person phase. You know what I mean? So I did it, and I've progressively watched this kid get better, and it's one of the greatest things that I'm so happy I went through with it. And then when me and my wife got together, she didn't know, and she loves it. Like she became a huge advocate. I'm a huge advocate. Like I will fight for kids with autism for anything, man. Like if they need help, they need anything, like fuck yeah, I give it to them.
I mean, I know a few people who have children that have autism. I know a few people that have autism themselves. And like you said, their brains are wired different, but not in a bad way. It's a lot of people that are verbal, very high functioning too. It is an interesting conversation at times because they start speaking and it's like, you get lost and you're like, maybe I'm the dumb one here. Not saying autism is dumb, but you're like, you question your own intelligence because you're like, hold on, what? And they'll be 100% right. Like they'll rattle off whatever, and it's like, huh.
Yeah, they say that everyone has a little bit of autism in them. They just it's just how your body kind of reacts to it. So like when I did a lot of like learning when it came to like trying to figure out like where's this at, and like there's a lot of like famous people that had autism, man. Like Mozart had autism. Like there's a lot of people where they had like autism, and like they're geniuses, man. Like you start naming them off, and you're like, these people are fucking geniuses.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like, but you know what? We've only talked for like a week and a half ish, but I'm proud of you for stepping up and becoming aware of your surroundings and teaching your child that doesn't matter that they're different. And I say that with quotations because they're not different; they're just superpowers, and they deserve everything we do. Just because they're wired different doesn't mean they're different in a bad way.
Yeah, there was a kid that in Colton's class, because my son, when you say something to him, he just automatically says no. So they were calling him like, she called him no something, and I didn't want to be a dickhead, but I was like, listen, like he doesn't understand like you understand. Like for you, that's something funny. For him, that's just him talking. So I was like, maybe we should relax on calling him that, and then she understood, and they became friends. Like she understands where he's at, and it's like I think now, like when I was a kid, obviously like kids with not mental health issues, obviously like disability issues, they were like made fun of a lot. So when you grow up, like when I was 22 and I had a son, and I was like, God damn it, like I don't want my son to go through like what I watch kids go through. But now it's different, man. Like kids don't make fun of Colton, they love him, but he's really loving. Like he's one of the most loving kids I ever met. Like if he likes you, man, he'll walk up and he'll just hug you on the spot and stuff like that. Just a really loving kid.
I love that. Like you touched on it a little bit there, the mental health part, but what you wanted to say, I feel like what you were saying is when we were growing up, the stigma around mental health and mental disabilities was so bad. Like like you looked at it when you were younger. You can say you didn't do it all you want, but we all know we did it. It was like, oh, there's something wrong with them. Let's stay away. Like, but that's not us now, because now we've learned. But back then, that was just normal because that was the way the world worked. Now we're unlocking things and seeing that, what we were taught is way different now. And the stigma around everything needs to end.
Oh yeah, man. Like like I will never say I didn't do those things. Like when I was a kid, man, I was always like, oh, I don't want to hang out with them. Like they got disabilities and stuff like that. And it's like I always say that because I thought that way, that's why God gave me a kid with a disability. So it taught me to learn that they're human. You know what I mean? Like that they're just people. Like now that like I have Colton, I know a few kids with Down syndrome and stuff. I'm like, they're the coolest fucking people ever, man. Like there's this one kid that comes into my work. I'm a chef for a living, and this kid comes in and he loves us, man. Like he's one of the boys. You know what I mean? Like we can crack jokes with him. He's only 13, but he's like an old man. You know what I mean? Like he's got like the old man kind of mentality. And I was like, I fucking love this kid. So yeah, my life's a lot different now that I always tell him all the time. Like I met him like a month ago. We have a fair and it's really big. And like we run a restaurant in the fair where we have beers and stuff like that. And he's coming in, hanging out with them, and he goes on the same bus as my son. So like he took a liking to me, and now we just play around. We messed around with them. My wife's a PSW, but she also like works at my work as a waitress. And she came into the kitchen the other day, and I said, "Tell her to get out of here." And he says, "Get what you need and get out of here." I'm like, "Hell yeah, let's go."
I love that. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh no, you go ahead.
Oh, I wasn't going to say anything. I'll let you continue there.
Life's different when you kind of like when you appreciate people for who they are. Like in my brain, like I don't give a fuck what disabilities you have. I don't care what your gender is. I don't care your sexuality. Just be a good person. If you're a good person, I'm gonna like you. If I don't like you, there's a reason why I don't like you. It's not gonna be because of your sexuality, your race, your gender, your disability. It's not gonna be like that. It's just you're not a good person. So just
No, I 100% agree. I have a 13-year-old myself who just recently was a complete idiot and broke his arm, but I digress. You know, like my significant other would be like, "Oh, you got to stop. You got to take it easy on him." I'm like, "No, he's at that age now where I treat him like one of my boys." And by
yeah.
that, I mean like same conversation I'll have with you, I'll have with him because he's hitting that age where what is the point of talking to him like a child? He's learning faster than anything. I might as well open that conversation now.
Yeah, exactly.
And she says I'm too rough and tough with him mentally, and I'm like, no, 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 no. You'll understand. It's a guy thing, and I know that sounds sexist, whatever, but it's not. It's just it is what it is. So you're a chef.
Yeah.
What? How do you get there? And death? Like what?
I wish I didn't. I hate it with
Why?
everything. It's very taxing. People complain about everything. Like I don't know, man. Like it's just like people think that they can do your job, so like they complain about stuff. So and it like you just work long hours. You don't like if your end time is 7 o'clock, you might close that night just because that's how it is. So it's long, it's taxing, and like it's stressful because like people think I'm crazy for saying this, but like when you're cooking food, man, people's lives are on the line. So like
Hmm.
you're like, fuck, man, if I fuck this meal up, like if this chicken like isn't like if it's undercooked a little bit, like they could die. And you're like, fuck man, like I don't want that shit on me. So yeah, I've been in the industry for 12 years now. Um, wish I didn't, but I love it at the same time. You know, it's like every day I wake up, I'm like, I don't want to go. But when I get there, I'm like, I fucking love this. Like when you get one compliment where they're like, the best food I ever had, it's like, all right, this is why I do it. But yeah. It
Now,
all started with the job at McDonald's, believe it or not. I started working at McDonald's, um, and I was young. I was young and dumb, so I just left McDonald's for no reason. Just left, and I got a job at Boston Pizza, and it's kind of progressed since. Like now, I'm at a restaurant where we do like all our own stuff. Everything's fresh, so yeah, it's
maybe if I'm in your neck of the woods,
come a
maybe I'll
long
have you
way.
serve me.
Yeah, man. We have a burger. I think you'd like it. Um, it's called. You know what smash burgers are?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a smash burger with a piece of chicken on top, uh, bacon, and then we put like chipotle on top, and then we have our homemade burger sauce that like base it, so it has like pickles and stuff. And then
Ooh.
we have we have our own. So the guy that owns my restaurant, he owns a food truck called Fork and Pierogi. So like we do like
Okay.
specialty pierogies. So that's what we're famous for. So yeah, we I think you'd like the pierogies too. Like they slap.
Not a big pierogi guy, but that burger sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's really good. The burger is like fresh burger. It's not like some frozen fucking chicken sandwich that you're gonna get. Like it's fresh chicken. All our stuff is local. So
Love that.
yeah.
All right. Now,
Next time you
I
talk to
told you
Sean, you should ask him about our food. Sean loves our food. So
I'll have to hit him up and inquisitive about it. I told you I was going to ask you this because I gave you a little pre-warning in case this wasn't a conversation you'd like to hit. You said you had some things to say, so I got to get your take on Chris Benoit.
All right, so here's my take. Chris Benoit will go down as one of the greatest technical wrestlers ever, as a wrestler. As a human being, obviously, he's a piece of shit for what he did. I always said if I could go back in time, I would knock on that door when he wasn't home and I would say, leave. I would say to Nancy, leave and take Daniel with you. Because if Chris Benoit only kills himself, he is still the greatest wrestler to ever exist. You know what I mean? Because a lot of wrestlers in that time were killing themselves a lot. So, and they're still considered really good wrestlers. But because Benoit did what he did, you don't have that conversation. And I also said, like, killing your wife is one thing. Like, it happens all the time, right? Like, people kill their wives.
Unfortunately, yeah.
That kid didn't need to die. And that's where my issue is. I would even like tell someone if it came down to it, if I had to choose one, if I had to change anything from that day, I would change Daniel not being in that house. Because again, if he would have killed Nancy, maybe the conversations are different. But unfortunately, he killed them both. And he's a piece of shit for it. And he deserves a burn in hell. But I still think he's one of the greatest technical wrestlers, especially first time. But yeah, that's my opinion on that.
You have any conspiracy theories behind what actually happened that day?
Do I believe that he was murdered?
Do you have any like your own personal thoughts on the conspiracy theories?
I don't know. When it first happened, I believed that he was murdered, and obviously, but like the more I got older, and then like that Dark Side episode kind of just put everything into perspective for me, and I was like, okay, maybe he wasn't murdered, but again, that's something we'll never know because Sullivan just died. So,
well yeah, and there's so many things mishandled in that case that it's I don't know, it's a weird. I believe that Sullivan killed Chris, but Chris did murder Nancy and Daniel.
Yeah, like if there's anything, like I would believe that. I would believe what you said. I wouldn't believe that Sullivan killed Nancy and Daniel because they're innocent and everything. Obviously, Nancy's not that innocent, but at least she doesn't deserve to die. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but who knows? Like anything could have happened, right? That we don't know.
The only people to know that happened are those guys, and it wasn't us. So.
Yeah, exactly. I remember hearing rumors that Sullivan was writing a book before he died. They're rumors, but it would have been cool if that book came out. But
well, I mean, that motherfucker told us he had a secret to say about the Benoit case, and then he fucking died like a week later. It was stupid.
Yeah. He kind of like got people talking about him, and then he kind of kicked the bucket. He's like, "All right, see ya. Good luck."
Like the alternate deathbed bullshit. I got something to say.
Yeah.
So you say that Nancy and stuff like that. Why haven't we seen Nancy go into any pro wrestling Hall of Fame? Like it doesn't make sense. She wasn't. She's innocent in this situation.
I think it's because of what happened. We'll always keep her out of the Hall of Fame. She should be in the Hall of Fame. She should have been in the Hall of Fame before she died. But I think because of you bring up Nancy, you bring up Benoit, and they don't want to. I don't think they want to open that can of worms, which I think is very unfortunate. She should be in the Hall of Fame. She should be in the Hall of Fame 100 times over. But without Nancy, who knows where valets would be, managers, stuff like that. Who knows? Like, Woman was one of the greatest she might be one of the greatest managers. But because of the Benoit situation, I think that keeps her out of the. Yeah, man.
Woman and Elizabeth were the top two I can think of that changed the way that we look at ballets.
You just try to hope they put her in sometime.
Who knows? Okay. You grew up a wrestling fan. You grew up a WWF fan, WWE fan. And then from the sounds of it, you weren't really into WCW?
No.
ECW, obviously. Involved in Deathmatch now.
No. No.
No.
I started liking ECW like when WWE bought it.
Oh, the watered down version. All right.
Yeah, but when WWE bought it, I kind of like did a deep dive into stuff, and obviously I like it. Like I would have killed to go to an ECW show. That would have been incredible. Me and Sean talked about going to New York for the Hammerstein show for GCW, but financially, with the show coming up, it just doesn't make sense. But one day we'll make it there. That's our dream. That's our dream venue to go to.
I want to touch the 2300 arena at some point, but I'm not lucky enough yet. My couple of my co-hosts have, and fuck them. But I'm an asshole. Favorite match of
Is
all
that in
time?
Philly?
Yeah, I believe it's in Philly.
Favorite match of all time.
Yeah,
My favorite match of all time is Brett and Bulldog, SummerSlam 93?
92 or
At
93?
Wembley?
Yeah.
One of the greatest matches. One of the greatest matches of all time. The finish, the roll-up finish, always just gets me hard, rock hard. So that's my match.
All right. Judging by
And
that
I know
was your.
earlier I said
Go ahead. Sorry.
judging earlier I said I'm not a technical wrestling fan, but that match is fucking incredible. I can watch that match anytime.
That's fair. Judging by that answer, I'm assuming you're a Bret Hart fan, so I kind of know where this answer is going to go. Who's better, Owen or
Owen?
Love that answer. That's what I believe too.
I'm not a Bret Hart guy, and obviously, if you ask me the other question, Sean's gonna listen to this and fucking lose it. I will take Shawn Michaels over Bret Hart any day.
I'm just not a Bret guy. When it comes to him and Owen, and we'll get to the Shawn Michaels thing in a second. When it comes to him and Owen, I don't believe Bret was versatile enough to succeed in the wrestling business. Owen had everything that an entertainment standpoint needed. He could wrestle, he could make you laugh, he could change character, he could do whatever it took. Bret was just Mr. Serious, and I just want the championship. That was it.
I think if Owen Hart would have lived to get to 2004, he would have been a fucking all-star, because that's when they started doing all the flippy shit and stuff like that. That's when it became cool. And Owen would have been a fucking top guy in WWE. Unfortunately, he didn't make it that far, but you know, things just are different. I'm not a Bret Hart guy. Like I don't care, man. Like I could, if I'm at like a Comic-Con and I walk by Bret Hart, obviously I'd be like, hey man, you're Bret Hart, cool. But it's like, I don't care.
Well, I'll tell you a story off there about that, man. But when it comes to Shawn and Bret, what you sounded like you had some personal beef there.
No personal beef. It's just I just like I like Shawn Michaels more. Obviously, like growing up when I did, DX was like the big thing. You know, Shawn Michaels, wrestling god, stuff like that. That's the kind of shit I like. So, I'm big on gimmicks. So yeah, that's the shit I like.
Okay. WWE, AEW give you a call. I've asked this question to many indie guys now. WWE and AEW give you a call tomorrow morning, $10 million each company, right down the middle. Who are you going to and why?
I think AEW. The schedule's not so taxing, so I'd still have time to be a dad. So if there was no kid in the picture, I would say WWE in a heartbeat. I think it'd be cool to watch WWE, like how it works, but I think schedule wise, AEW would be where I'm going. And AEW kind of leans more into like what I like, into like the hardcore stuff, the gimmick stuff. I fucking love gimmick wrestling, man. Like I can't tell you enough how much I love it. So yeah, I'd go AEW.
Fair enough. I'm going to wrap up the interview here in a few minutes, but I got to ask, your Mount Rushmore of Canadian wrestlers.
Canadian wrestlers. All right. Owen Hart, Josh Alexander, Petey Williams, and I don't know. I'm gonna be crazy here. I'm gonna say Green Phantom. I'm gonna put that into the atmosphere, man. I love Green Phantom. We're gonna get him on a show. I will pay top dollar to get Green Phantom on a Canadian Deathmatch show. But
I'm pretty sure you'll have one
I
of your
also think like if you're gonna say the best Canadians, what's that?
You were saying about your Mount Rushmore of best.
I think
Canadian.
if you're gonna say like top Canadian guys, you have to mention Brett. As much as I don't like the guy, he is one of the best Canadians. But yeah, he doesn't make my Mount Rushmore. No, come on. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. I think so. You're moving.
All right. All right. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'm in a bunch of woods, man. My service is dog shit.
You're fine, my guy. I promise you, it is what it is. So I'll get wrapping up then. So just what is that?
It is a bat with plastic forks on it.
Okay.
So the hope is that it sticks into the body when it's swung. This is for my buddy Wade Allen, because we're big baseball guys. And when I thought about it, I said, who would be good for this? And I said, I'm giving this to Wade. So here we are. I have this. I'm also making a table out of forks. So expect to see that too.
I don't know where that's going, but I can't wait to see that.
And then I have this. Can you see it?
Paint roller.
It is a paint roller with tacks on it.
Ow.
So I'm sure you can figure out. Yeah. This is why my wife thinks I'm a lunatic.
Oh, that doesn't even sound appealing. It looks and feels like it would hurt, and I'm not even touching the fucking thing.
So when I make these weapons, I know a girl that is dating a deathmatch wrestler, so I'll send her pictures, and she sent a picture of the bat to her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's a really popular deathmatch wrestler, and he said, "Fuck, I would not take that to the toothpick bat." So
why do I feel like I know who you're talking about?
You probably do. I'm not gonna say the name. I don't.
No. You can tell me off air, but I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about.
I think you do. I think you guys might be from the same area. Maybe.
I have to ask because we did bring up the Mount Rushmore conversation. I kind of want to get you in trouble with the boys a little bit.
All right.
Who's your Mount Rushmore of deathmatch?
Oh. See, I'm not really that big into deathmatch. Like I don't deep dive in like Sean does. But I would say Sabu, Gage, Manny, Sexy Eddie, or Green Phantom. Those are my guys.
Fair enough. You mentioned Green Phantom, and I know a guy that would love to have him on that show. Do you own his merch yet to get the pass in the parking lots?
No, I don't. But if that guy if he wants to meet me at KFC, we could throw down. I will tell you
crazy.
I'll tell you a fun story about Kyle. He was at a wrestling show that I was at. I used to be friends with them. Same wrestling show I talked about before. They were they're gone now. They had some drama happen with them last year, and they no longer exist. But Kyle was in a 5-way match. I think it was a 5-way, maybe 6-way. And I'm gonna butcher these people. I'm sure I'm gonna get someone wrong, but the match was PD Skills, Kyle, Warhead, Joey Allen, I think, and Madman Pondo. And Madman Pondo hit Kyle so hard with the stop sign, I thought it went through his face. And every time I see Kyle or I talk to Kyle, I bring it up to him. Like when it hit Kyle, I shit you not, I was at the back of the the venue because I was training to be a wrestler at the time. So I helped set up and stuff, so I didn't have a ticket to sit. So I was hanging out with some wrestlers, and it hit so hard. We were all like, "Oh my fucking god!" Like I thought I seen Kyle's face in the stop sign. So, yeah,
just full stop, eh?
Oh, if if I can find that match, I think Kyle might have it. It might be online. If I can find that match, I'll send it to you because Kyle getting hit with that stop sign was crazy, man. Like Kyle, when it hit Kyle, like he went down and like he like looked like he sat up, and I was like, that guy is fucking dummied right now. Like he is not here. Like I think his soul left his body for a second.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
like just imagining this because he's not a big guy. It just like,
oh, it was like Bondo hit him, and it just like boom, and Kyle didn't move. It's like, and I was like, oh fuck, like that. Yeah, I love Kyle. I seen his status about Phantom. I messaged him right away, and I said, yo, like we want Phantom. It didn't work, obviously, for the first show, but I said, buddy, Phantom will be on the next show, the show after that, the show after that. My goal would be to, obviously it won't happen, like, but my goal would be to have Sexy Eddie, Phantom, and Manny on a show. That would be incredible.
Well, you got to get Arquette too.
Oh, dude, I would get Arquette. Listen, I would pay Arquette to come in just to fucking piss off Sean, just to get him so mad. It would be the biggest rib on Sean. He'd be so mad. I would pay Arquette top money to come just to watch Sean, and I would put him over on somebody like one of Sean's guys, one of Sean's big guys. I'd be go, we're putting them over, and Sean was fucking losing.
I love that. Listen, my guy, I enjoyed this conversation, but like with Sean, I want to talk to you a little bit closer to the show itself because there'll be lots more unfolding in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
With talent being announced, the match stipulations being announced. Then drawing closer, I want to help gather as much publicity, if you will, towards this show. And I do want to have you back on. It's been a fun conversation. I am excited to see what the hell you come up with next. By all means, send me things. Even if not, I'm pumped for this.
I'll give you a sneak peek of something.
All right.
So I got a cheese grater right here.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
And I'm going to pop this cheese grater out, right? And I'm going to put it on a weapon. I think it might be a baseball bat. So it'll be like a baseball bat cheese grater.
What about a catcher's mitt?
That's a good idea. You know, I do have an old baseball glove right here that I could. That's a good idea. Man, you've come up with two good ideas so far. You might have something in that brain. Oh.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit. But with that being said, I want you to go ahead and pump out anything you wish to shout out now. Promote anything you wish. Send a message, however you will. Go ahead.
Obviously, get your tickets March 1st. We're going to make a difference. We're going to make a fucking scene. Canadian Deathmatch, first show, Hamilton, Ontario. Now at the Germania. Legendary venue. Hopefully they'll let us do some crazy shit because that's the venue to do it. Get your tickets. Get your shirts. And all I want to say is just be a good person, man. Have fun. Life only happens once, so just make your way through it. Do what you want to do, and don't fucking worry about what people have to say. That's it. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, Dylan, it's been a blast for this past. It doesn't even feel like an hour. I feel like I've only been talking for 5 minutes, which is great because that just means we're having fun. With that being said,
what we're doing, right?
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, my name is Shadow. This has been Spotlight with Shadow. Dylan, thank you again. Make sure you're supporting your indie friends, supporting your indie companies, and make sure you're filling up those indie venues because that's still good people. Now, that being said, thank you for watching. Have a good night.
Bye.